Yeah, I will just start it off. If people join anyhow, then they're welcome to just pop in. What I want to talk about today is the changes we made for the Manifest version 3 by Chrome, related to how you can make a bypass for the new version we will be making. I have made a couple bulletin points. We will start with requirements. This is a section just about what do you need to make the bypasses. What knowledge do you need? I will show you guys then quickly how to actually make a development build yourself. How I will show what the framework / core that we rebuilt looks like. This will also give you some insight in what methods you can use to make creating the bypasses easier. I will show some differences in how the bypasses are made. Example with Linkvertise. It's quite a difference in how it's made. And after that, if there are any questions, people are free to, you guys can just ask away. Okay, so first off, the knowledge or the requirements for building a bypass. It all starts with you need some JavaScript knowledge. If you don't have any knowledge of JavaScript, you're not able to be making any bypass, because a lot of things are made in JavaScript. The whole framework, the whole project itself is made in JavaScript. So yeah, it's pretty important that you know a bit of it. You need some HTML. I will step in these points further. You need a development environment. Sounds like a lot, but it just means you need a good code editor. I recommend a development version of a browser like Firefox Dev, Chrome Dev. You need to know some things about GitHub. Either it's using the command line interface or the desktop. You need to know a tiny bit about coding styles. We use 2, as far as I know. And you need Node.js, because we built the actual, we built the project with Node.js. Okay, so what do you need to know about JavaScript? You need the basics of JavaScript, the knowledge about the basics of JavaScript. You need to know how pages are using JavaScript. And you need to know a tiny bit about fetch requests, because a lot of pages use them. Always good to have some knowledge. HTML, pretty basic. Websites use HTML. You need to know how to target HTML entities when you're not able to get the information out of JavaScript. Some pages have all the information set in JavaScript, and you can use that. Others need to call an API, and others you can just use the web page. Yeah, the part that's scariest for most people, the full integrated development environment or a code editor. It's just to keep the whole project in one place, and you can easily switch between files without too much hassle. I'm a big fan of WebStorm, but some people use, what do other people use? That's I've used Sublime Text in the past, also very good. You can use a workspace. There's Notepad++, it's a code editor. It has less features than the rest. Oh, nice, more people are joining. Why do you need a dev version of a browser? A lot of browsers don't support manually installing plugins without setting some flags on. Most of the flags are already on in development versions, which means a lot of development browsers allow you to just drag and drop the built project. So that's the easy install, and it's to make a clear difference between what browser you use for testing and what browser you use to just browse on the internet. I got both Firefox development and Chrome development, but I mainly use Firefox myself. GitHub, yeah. There's two versions, well, more, but two versions. You have the desktop version, is an application you can just download from GitHub. This handles a lot of things. It gives you a user interface to use, or you can just use a command line and query GitHub using that. You need a tiny bit of basic knowledge about Git because, yeah, you're working with a team. So you need to know some things about Git. Like a pull request, you need to know what it is, and you need to know what merging means. A pull request is when you make changes on a separate branch and you want other people to look at it. So you submit a pull request. I can show that in a bit. I will also show that how that works. You need to make a pull request, then we will look into the code, see if it's according to the coding style, if it works, if it goes through the automated tests. And if all of that is fine and we approved it, then you can merge, which means you bring the code from the branch that you used to make a pull request to the branch you want to put it in, like MV3. Coding styles. Yeah, everyone has coding styles. Everywhere there's coding styles. It basically means people have agreed that there's a certain way to do something, to build code, and it's best to uphold that. So the code stays clean, the code stays easy to read, because everything's the same. A good example of this, what I use, is Yoda coding, which means, let me see if I have an example of that. I can make a quick example. Yoda coding, you have a normal check. You have a normal check like this. You check if a variable equals a number. This can give a very severe issue. If you get an equal sign, then you assign. In this case, it warns me because it's a constant and you cannot change that. A good way to bypass this is Yoda coding, which means you swap them around. The great benefit of this, if I change this into a variable that can change, like this, the first one doesn't complain, even if I make it a single equal, but then I modify the variable and I don't check anymore. The second one would just give an error, because I'm trying to change something that's definitely not changeable. A constant 15 can never be changed. So yeah, Yoda coding, it's great. It's a way to keep accidental mistakes or mistakes from throwing you off in your code. There's also the explicit over implicit. What I refer to this is, if you have variables, you can call them X and you can call them Y. That's great if they're latitude, longitude, because then you think of an XY coordination. But if you have a, let's say you have a user, you can define them as const u or const user. Doesn't take the browser much to parse the extra information. In this case, the U is implicit. It can be anything that starts with a U. User is explicit. It is a user, so you can see by the variables what it is. I'm not going too far into the coding styles. They're pretty, yeah, those are the two that I use only. Try to keep them in mind. they make your life easier. Node.js, why do you need Node.js? We build a plugin using Node.js, and you need to always run an npm install. I have an example. I have a clean version pulled out here from Git. This is pure clean. And if I run a build example, it will tell me that it's missing a package. To fix this, you need to install the packages, which is done with npm I. I is short for install. You just say the package manager for Node, just install everything that's defined in package. There are only two, and if I do the build, it will build. That's also how to build the plugin. If you want to build a specific Firefox or only for Firefox, you type Firefox behind it, it builds Firefox. And for Chrome, you build Chromium and it builds Chromium. The build always goes into the build folder with the dist, which is the distribution, and then you can see the CRX for Chrome. I mainly use Firefox, so I will build the Firefox version. Here it is. And I have the XPI now. Okay, let's continue building. I just showed you. There's a single command. It's called use node to execute build.js inside the scripts folder and add for the which browser you want to use or you want to build for. You have the source, the build source here. If you want to use Chrome, then you have to import that folder. If you're using Firefox, just use the build file. Yeah, the core. This gets more technical. We swap some parts around. Source used to just have JS, and in injection script, every bypass was there. The current injection script will be built. And let's see, everything should look fine. Yeah. The injection script is built in the process, which will generate a injection script which has all the files. The build, not interesting in this part. What we do want to look at is the bypasses, is where the bypasses go. The helpers, these are methods and functions that are being injected into the bypass classes. Then I seem to be, oh no, it's here. This is an example of a bypass file. You always extend the bypass definition, which will make sure that the helpers are set, and the helpers is, in this example, the DOM.js. This happens in the build step, which is in here at the end. This is the template for the injection script, which will always call, as an example, as a build one here. It will create the bypasses, it will build the helpers, and it will add it to the class, which means inside the bypass file you have access to this.helpers, like you used here, and in this case we use insert info box, which will refer to this method to build a pop-up, and FastForward pop-up. We also have a good link check, a safely navigate, parse target, and unsafely navigate. They didn't change at all. Those methods are like they were, and they are callable inside with this.helpers. They're all inside of here. Let's go back here. Then we have a ensure DOM. If the bypass has a ensure DOM set to true, that means it will wait until the page is loaded. then it will execute the bypass. If not, it would just execute it. This is a big change related to how it was, where we had the ensure DOM function in which we would execute code afterwards, or inside a normal script or normal execution we would wait for DOM. In this case, just add it as a it was here somewhere. Just add it in the bypass definition, like link if we want to wait for the DOM, we can do we can set it up here, which means it will wait until the page is loaded. Linkvertise doesn't need the page to be loaded, but linkvertise is a very different story. Let's go back here. So yeah, these are all methods to make it easier to build. I need to quickly pull it because there's a change that's not. Yeah, we were missing some methods. DOM. Yeah, I've also created a new bypass request. This is just a wrapper to execute a method whenever any XML HTTP request or fetch request is made. This makes it so this code here is not duplicated everywhere. How do we use it? It's inside the helpers, and I've updated linkvertise with it. You just call this helpers bypass request and you add the function behind, and it just works after the request. Pretty small, pretty nice, makes it easier to read. It clearly shows what's happening. So yeah, a difference. If we go here and let me output this one on here. So on the left I have the old the manifest v2 version of the bypass for linkvertise. On the right side we have the new version. One thing, it's cleaner in my opinion. You can more easily see what's happening. There's less indentations. Plus it has its own file. You know where to look when something needs to change for linkvertise or Quora or whatever bypass you have. Previous version, everything was in one file. You had to search to find the actual bypass you were looking for. Don't look at this change because that's changed inside the DOM. That's the bypass request. So yeah, it's less indentation, makes it more clearer. The one thing, the old version you could just say insert info box. In this version you need to actually call this .helpers .insert info box because that's a helper function. So what's the biggest change? Every bypass is now its own file. Yeah, that's clearer. That's easier. Also what's changed is no more regular, well, you can use regular expressions. I chose in this case to always to change this regular expression to the 3 main domains which are exported, so the actual generated injection script has all this information available. In this case you can see there's a linkvertise.com or .net. They're both inside of here, the first two. There's also a link to .net, which is the third one. It's just a plain list / array. So yeah, that's to make it slightly easier. Are there any questions at the moment? I don't think there are any questions. Zombie, do you have any questions? I'll take silence as a no. Okay, so how do you make an actual bypass? I just put this back here. Okay. The first step is we need to actually create a file. I'm also quickly looking for a fun little bypass. Let's try this one. Okay, what do we need? We need to add a file. And I've made a template to create a bypass, and I will not use that in this example. What do we need? We need a name, so we call it complete to unlock. Now this opens the file. So what do I have here? We have a file. We need to include this bypass. As an example, I would just say copy this. Just copy the big part, paste it in, then we'll have the bypass. It's not linkvertise, it's complete to unlock. Okay, what does a actual bypass need? It needs 2 exports in the bypass file. It needs the actual class, which extends a bypass definition, and we need the array of matches. What's the match in this case? If we go back to the original one, you can see it's just a plain URL. So in this case, we've added the complete to unlock bypass to the actual project. This means if I build it now, there is support for complete to unlock, and it will call this this class, but it doesn't have anything, so it will throw an error. So what does it need? It needs 2 methods. The first one we always want to call super, and we need a execute method, which is not super execute. This method gets called whenever we match with the complete to unlock.com domain. In this case, if we look back, what needs to happen? We apparently need to have an interval. Then we get an element by ID, and we get the unlock panel. Then we check if the unlock panel, or if the success button exists and the unlock panel is bigger than 0, then we clear the interval and we open a new window, which we said there's a lot of stuff happening. Let's see if we can easily rewrite this. First thing we see is it has a interval. So we want to create the interval, and it runs at 300 milliseconds, and after a big while we also clear the interval, and that's like 300,000 seconds. So if it doesn't find anything, if it doesn't clear it already, then it has to be cleared there. Also here you can see it's a the naming is easier at this point, BT compared to timer. Okay, what do we want to do? We want to get 2 variables. The first one is the link success button. And that's an element by ID. And we want the unlock panel, and that seems to be most likely the container. No, it's containers because they're multiple. And that's just unlock panel. And then we want to see if B is anything. Yes. We can make it easier and we can just say if not link success button return. Maybe continue. Does it work? No. It's a return. So this is a simple way. Just check beforehand. We know there's nothing's gonna happen if this one doesn't exist. So just return. Then we don't need to check here for the B. In this case it's B. So in here we can just check if unlock panel and containers that length is 0, but that's not the right way because you're other coding. So if 0 is the same as the length, then we also return. In this case we've just completely removed this indentation. If nothing's happening, then if it's not there, just return. That means we can put this whole part one step back, makes it clearer again. So what do we want to do? If that is there, then we want to clear the interval timer. We want to open a new window. We're not doing anything with the window. Oh, we're defining. I see. We are overriding the window open function here. Probably to bypass all the annoying open tabs. Yeah, we can just also add some information in the style of a comment. Makes it easier for everyone else. And then we need to see ES is the unlock panels. And we want to click on them all, I think. Yeah, it seems like we want to click on them all. So we got, so they're not, they're just not containers. So we want to add another interval there. So unlock panels that for each means loop over every unlock panel and just call a panel dispatch event, which means we create a new mouse event of click, so it's just saying click on it. We don't have to do it like this. We can also just say click. But let's keep it original. No, let's do it like this. So we click on everything, and then we have a interval which checks for it checks for if the success button changed from disabled to not disabled. We can just click it. We don't need to actually clear the interval. So we check for the is button enabled. That's a interval which is every 100 milliseconds, in which we say if pay.has and b is the button link success button has attribute disabled, we return, we don't need that, and we just say clear interval of the timer, and on the link success button we want to dispatch another event, and that's a click. So what have we done? We have rewritten this whole bypass into this bypass. So what's the next step? We have to go into the terminal and we have to say we want to build it for Firefox. There's the developer version. Yeah. Skip. Okay, there we go. So we need to install the actual newly created Firefox plugin. We open it in Explorer. That's not the location. FastForward, build dist. So we have the build plugin here. We have Firefox here. And we just drag and drop, and it asks if we want to add it. And we've added it. Now we're going to quickly check the GitHub to see if there's... That's the wrong Firefox. To see if there's a comment about this, if there's a URL for this one. Shits keep falling. No, that's what. Give me 1 second. Okay, there we go. I need to just quickly see if there's a complete to unlock URL. github.com/fastforward/fastforward, and that's not the right URL. Here, fast. Give me 1 second. I can probably find a issue for this one. Nope, nothing. Well, wouldn't it be just like me to have build a bypass that's not broken? I should be able to find something real quick. Well, that sucks. I can go to the page. I can check it out. And it's just a dodgy, super sketchy redirect page. That's dumb. I should have looked into that before. So yeah, but at this point, this is a bypass at the moment. I can put a debug. This is very much against advice. I closed it. Yeah, I closed it. So I just rebuilt it because I made a change. I install the plugin again. Come on. There we go. I open my developer tools and I go like unlock, complete to unlock. And you could quickly see the bypass, the debugger. I don't know if you guys saw it. Look closely around here. There, debugger. Yes, let's quickly look into the pull requests to see which one recently got inserted. This one should be fine. Yeah. Yeah, let's do another one. I am gonna use my quick pre-built bypass definition. The file name would be my drama list, and I forgot to put that in, and that will be my dramalist.com. I believe that's the one, yeah. Yeah. As you can see, I've added some info here. Does it need to wait for a DOM? I don't think so, so we don't need to add that. And that's my drama list. So we have the base function set now. Let me quickly also go show it doesn't work at the moment. There we go. It takes a while before we go. So that's what we are gonna update. My drama list, and I'm just looking on the Git here to see what changed. Not much has changed. So what do we have? We have the query string, and we're using a decode URI component. First of all, I want to add a debugger. This is how I always work. I want to add debuggers, and that I can actually work on it. And then there's a safely navigate with the decode URI, which is that. Okay, nice. So in this case, debugger, I build it. I open my Firefox. I insert the plugin. I add OK, and I get to the page again. And we have a debugger. So the redirect here is what we want. We have several ways of doing this. We can go here and we can say there's a God, I forgot what it's named. Query string. Oh. I used it before. It's a URI, a URL search params from location. Doesn't this one have search? Yeah. There we go. And I believe we need everything except for the base URL we already have, but in this case it's already nicely parsed. Can we collect a string on this? Yeah, we can. So we can do this, and that's not correct. Okay, so what do we have? We want the location search into the search parameters. Now we have the search parameters, which is everything that's not in the URL, and we can say decode URI component of the search parameters. And it should just be like full URL equals decoded search params dot replace what we want to replace q equals, and we want to remove it, and it should be like this with helpers dot safely navigate to the target of full URL. It should just be this. Let's check that out. If it's that, it's over here. We move it here, we edit, okay, and we F5. And I do gotta quickly get the URL again. Stop pressing random buttons. So what do I have here? We have the decoded search params, which also has a question mark in front. So we also need to remove the question mark. And then we should have the full URL set up properly. Yeah, that looks about right. And then we can safely navigate. So again, we gotta rebuild, because we now have a properly built bypass. We edit. So this is the last check to see if it works, and it works. You saw the FastForward bypass. It's slightly bigger than the original bypass, which is here. It's more readable in my opinion. So yeah, that's how to create a bypass in Manifest v3. As you can see, I use the safely navigate, which is inside the helpers. Are there any questions at the moment? That's nice. Then with this, I think I've shown a bit what it's about. Let me quickly go back to the slideshow. I'll give a quick TLDR on it. You need JavaScript, HTML knowledge. It's best to use a full-blown IDE like WebStorm. You need Node.js, GitHub. Two ways to change. First thing, if you want to use the Manifest v3, you need to be on the Manifest v3 branch. From here, you can create a new branch, which should be from the Manifest v3. If you build it from main, then you're not having any Manifest v3, which would be a shame. From here, you can just select the bypasses, and you can write a summary, and you can push it. Well, I can push it. Build a new branch. Make a new branch from Manifest v3. Make your code. Then push the new branch and create a pull request. Let me do that quickly. New branch from Manifest v3. What are we going to call it? Create the complete to unlock and my drama list. Again, another check, Manifest v3. Create a branch. I'll bring my changes because that's my development environment, and then I'll say create the actual part complete to unlock and my drama list. I commit the changes, and you can see publish branch here. I click on it. Now let me quickly log in. Give me a second. I'm not doing that on screen. There we go. We're inside Git now. We go to pull request and you can see it says, hey, this branch has had changes recently. I click compare and pull request, and the first thing I do, I check that the left base is always, in this case, is set to manifest v3. We want to pull these changes into the v3 version and not into the main. It doesn't work inside the main. You can put some information here. What does it fixes? Fixes adding previously fixed changes / bypasses to the MV3 branch. What did I do? I updated 2 bypasses from MV2 to MV3. I did not test it on Chrome, so I won't put an X there. I made sure there are no changes. Don't check these boxes if you have not tested it. It's annoying. Then you click create pull request. In here, oh, I made some oopsies here. There's no space there. Well, that's weird. Where are my other checkboxes? Well, this is super weird. Oh, there they are. So these checkboxes need space around the X. Let me just manually check them. And one's not a checkbox. Why doesn't this one want to be a checkbox? Because I'm missing a space. So I tested on Firefox and I made sure there are no changes. This is visible for everyone. I've used Access in the past. So we can look here, see what file changes there were made. We will look into this and then we're like, yeah, does it look good? Yeah, it looks good. We can test it. Does it work? Yeah, it works. Nice. Best way to ease this process for us is adding something here. Let's check example links and just add the link. This way we have an actual link in which we can test if it works. Otherwise we have to search for what happens, what link we could use to test it. We have to look back into the issues to see if there's a notification. If there's a issue, please add it to the fixes. That way we can just click on it and it will be linked to each other. The issue will be closed when we commit it. So yeah, that's the GitHub part, that's the building part. Node.js to build the actual plugin. Dev version of a browser, so you can have a clear differentiation between browser for using and for development, and an IDE. So yeah, that's. I hope you guys think we're going in the right way. This makes it easier for everyone to see what bypasses are there, and when there are in need of a change in a bypass, we can easily see where it is, making it easier to find and solve the issues. So yeah, that's my fast talk. It took about an hour. That's pretty nice. And hope to see you guys create some awesome bypasses soon. Bye bye.